And we're live. Shout out to the folks that were waiting. Sorry for the delay. It's 10:45. We're live. And you already know what we're gonna do right now. And that's talk about the Nets and Game 7 and Game 6 and Game 5. And take questions from the chat and play some voicemails and talk our shit like we always do. Give me 1 second and I will count us in because we ain't got time to waste. Okay, let's get this intro in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Talking Nets, episode 111. The series is tied 1-1 after what we saw last night in the Pfizer Forum. Congratulations, Bucks. You did what you had to do. You did what the NBA needed you to do, and that was force a Game 7. We knew all along that this was going to go 7 games because this is it. The 2 versus the 3. But how good does it feel to have that 2 seed now? We're going to talk about Game 6. We're going to talk about really Game 5 because we haven't got on the pod to talk about KD's magnificent performance. And then we'll get you pumped up for Game 7 Saturday night in Brooklyn. Talking Nets. Let's get it. Intro. Brooklyn, we go hard. Brooklyn, we go hard. People that just listen to or just watch the live stream and don't listen to the pod are like, what is he doing, bro?
Post-production does wonders for this podcast.
Yeah, it sounds completely different after I edit it, but that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to count us back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talking Nets, episode 111. Friday morning after another loss. The new series, is tied 1-1. Keith McPherson and Hudson Flynn joining you to talk you off the ledge, to get you excited, to get your mind right for the 2 greatest words in sports. Game 7. Hudson Flynn, can you say hello to the people?
How we doing, everybody? Big day, big podcast, a lot of nerves, a lot of energy. This is what we play for, though. This is what we live for as sports fans. Game 7, putting everything on the line with a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in decades. It feels good, Keith. It feels good to be in this position, but now we got to close it out. Now we got to get it done. We know what the NBA wanted. They wanted us to go to a Game 7, and here we are. At the Barclays Center, we can't lose on home court. We just can't, Keith. The block's going to be loud. Barclays is going to be rocking. The 6-man is going to be in effect. I'm ready for it, Keith.
Hell yeah. I'll take our guys versus their guys in a do-or-die situation. I'll take our fans and our home court advantage in a do-or-die situation. Like, it's pretty simple to me. When we had the Bucks preview podcast, Hudson said Nets in 6. I said Nets in 7. Because I was giving the Bucks their respect, and I will put some respect on their name. These guys have played extremely physical, obviously aided by the refs, but they also are just tough. They're tough defensively. They're tough covers. And when a guy like Middleton gets going with Giannis, what he can do, a 2-time MVP, like, they're tough for us to cover. People thought the Brooklyn Nets weren't going to be able to play any defense at all. And, we figure it out, and we get stops when we need it. And we get ridiculous performances. And we're going to need that again tomorrow night in Brooklyn. So let's start the pod off how we always start the pod off, with some news and narratives. And the first thing I want to say is shout out to Kyrie. I saw someone in the chat, Abdus Muhammad says, is Kyrie playing? I don't expect Kyrie to play in Game 7. I think I might have said there would be a chance because he got injured last Sunday. It would be 6 days, almost a week, but win it for Kyrie. How about that? Win it for Kyrie so that his season doesn't end with an injury and his last game being Game 4 in Milwaukee. And in the news and narratives, I want to talk about Kyrie Irving making the All-NBA team. Congratulations, Kyrie. Even though it was the 3rd team, at least they're putting some respect on my guys' 50, 40, 90 season. Hudson, what are your thoughts about this third team All NBA? I think Tatum was also in the third team, but then when you look at the first team, Julius Randle's in the first team. Like, these regular season awards are garbage. Obviously, KD is nowhere to be found because he missed so much time. And then also, I got to add that the inaugural Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion Award, I think we alluded to that last episode. Kyrie doesn't even get mentioned in that group. I think Carmelo was in that group, but go ahead, Hudson. Tell us what you think about these NBA awards and Kyrie Irving making third team All NBA.
On one hand, happy that he got that bit of recognition, but on the other hand, it's disrespectful. Kyrie is now one of 5 players in NBA history to ever put up 25 points per game while averaging 50, 40, and 90. One of 5 players. Curry did it. KD did it. Bird did it. That's insanely elite company. And for Kyrie to have almost missed out on that spot on the third team, putting up the lowest point total of all of the players on the third team, it's just disappointing. It's just disrespectful. It's not quite as disappointing as him not being on the social justice team, because if there's anyone to win that award, it's him. But it just goes back to what happened at the beginning of the season. Do you guys remember way back when Kyrie said, "I will not be doing media availability"? And I believe it was David Aldridge went on The Athletic and wrote up a whole article saying, "Don't expect to win awards if you're not going to talk to the media." And that's how it is, right? That's all it is.
Pawns.
It's all politics. It's all pawn behavior. It is all just not caring about the basketball. It's not a basketball award. It's a popularity contest. And Kyrie is just simply never going to win that popularity contest with a group of people that he called pawns, and rightly so, because this is the way that they're acting. It's just some internalized nonsense, some hatred that they have for Kyrie Irving, and it's disappointing because as a league, we should be more appreciative of Kyrie. We should be more appreciative of Harden. We should be more appreciative of stars in general that get so much hate, all the while they are just doing some of the most magical things we have ever seen on a basketball court. It's just disrespectful. I mean, look at Paul George. All the pandemic P nonsense, all of the hate coming his way. But he has a great game. He keeps his team alive when their number one star goes down. Nothing. No comments. Nothing positive about him. It's just all negativity based on narratives, and it's disappointing. But we knew Kyrie was going to get caught up in the fray for all this. But at the end of the day, Chip. And so put all of the regular season awards aside. Put all of that aside because he doesn't want that recognition. All he wants is a ring. And that's why we're winning this Game 7 for him.
Yeah, we support Kyrie. I mean, it's been the theme of Talking Nets for a long time. You're never going to hear us say anything bad about that guy. And I also want to take this opportunity to shout out him and his fiance and the birth of their child. Now, this guy gets so much hate. We saw during the year, he took some leaves. And one of those leaves we heard was because his wife was pregnant. Maybe that happened back then and they just announced it now. I saw a bunch of people posting their home video. I elected not to post it. I thought that was kind of like weird how many people were posting their reposting their home video. I mean, shout out to the Kyrie stans that have all these Kyrie stan Instagram accounts, but I don't know, that was like a private, it just gave me like home video private vibes that yeah, they shared because that's the time we're in, but we're not going to share it. What we're going to do is send a congratulations to Kyrie Irving and his fiance. I forget her name. Hudson might know her name. On having a kid. No, Hudson don't know her name either. Exactly, because we support Kyrie.
We follow her on the Instagram. I just forget her name. I just can't remember it off the top of my head.
We're not that deep in his personal life, but congrats, bro. You're a dad again, and I think he had a son this time, so he's got a daughter and a son. On the line of supporting our players and our team, the next news and narratives surround one Joe Harris, who I have been supportive of throughout this series, but last night I called for him to just not hurt us anymore. And it's not because I don't have faith in Joe Harris. It's not because I don't believe in Joe Harris. It's not because I don't support Joe Harris. It's because he's been consistently bad in this series. And last night, man, his 3-point shots, they always end up bad for us. Either they result in a missed 3 that turns into a 3 by Middleton, and then Middleton gets hot and hits back-to-back 3s, or a missed 3 by Joe that turns into a PJ Tucker 3 they're rally killers. And I think it's because there's so much weight on Joe right now, right? There's so much talk about Joe right now. He's still in the starting five. He's still getting the start. And people wanted to talk about, well, his defense. Yeah, he plays good defense, but it's not like he's an A+ defender. Like that narrative kind of, I don't really get that one. The way I see it with Joe, he should be coming off the bench. And it's kind of weird, but like at the end of the season, I said maybe Joe should be coming off the bench. Maybe he shouldn't be a starter just based off of what we pay him. But I think it would take some pressure off of him. I think it would switch up his routine a little bit. It wouldn't be like the Nets are quitting on him. It'd be like the Nets are using him as a weapon off the bench, and maybe he could get hot that way. What do you think about Joe? Honestly, watching him in Game 5 in the arena, I just was like, this is not Joe Harris. He doesn't look the same. He doesn't look like himself. His shots are off. And last night, watching him miss shots, and it's like the whole world is watching. Like, he hit some shots last night, but his misses were rally killers and turned into points for the Bucks, where I'm like, we just can't have it anymore. We can't force it, right? We can bring him off the bench. We have other options. Hudson, what are you thinking about our guy, Joey Buckets, who I need to be Broadway Joe? If we needed it one game of the series, we needed it last night in Game 6, and he still doesn't have it, and I'm hurt for the guy. But like Steve Nash, you're the coach, Brooklyn Nets organization, make the switch, make the change for Game 7. Something's got to give.
I really do feel for him, man. Like, it hurts. Joe is one of the original Nets, right? He's from that old photo on the plane with D'Lo and all those guys. He's Anthony one of our guys, right? Like back in the day, he was a Sean Marks gem in the rough. He was out of the league. Sean Marks brought him back in, and he's done all this great stuff. But now it's all kind of falling apart. And look, I love Joe. I really do. I care for him as a player. I think he's a cool dude. But at the end of the day, it's the playoffs, right? It's do or die, and it's really do or die in this Game 7. It's been do or die this whole series, but for real now. If you lose, the season is over. This experiment is over. This championship run is over. 7 wins. That's all we got. That's not enough. And if Joe is going to be a liability, which unfortunately he has the same. This is one of the saddest stats I've ever seen. Joe Harris in this current stretch has the same 3-point percentage as Ben Simmons had this season.
Damn, don't say that. Oh,
yeah,
no.
Horrendous. It's just so disappointing, man. But you can't let players drag you down like that. And we love him, we care for him, and I'm sure he's great in the locker room. Everyone has nothing but great things to say about Joe. Everybody does, top down. But you can't let one guy bring you down like that. And when you have an offense that's so based around spacing and so based around having the other team's defense respect your shooters so that you can give Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving enough space to operate and draw those double teams away from them, and triple teams in some cases with KD, you need them to respect the shooters. And Joe Harris, at this point, doesn't deserve their respect. He does not, because he's not hitting the shots. And it's sad. It's no good. It's not fun. I hate having to talk about it, but you need to put players on the court that give you an upside and give you a chance to win. And Joe Harris is not doing that, and he's not playing his role. I agree with you. Maybe him coming off in the 6-man role is going to help him. We actually saw that kind of spark him this season earlier when he had some of his better performances coming off the bench. But right now, it's just not working. It's not enough. It's tragic. It's sad. But at the end of the day, someone else has got to step up. I want it to be Landry Shamet. I want it to be some of the bench guys. I want it to be Tyler Johnson. But, tomorrow's Game 7. You have to have your best players play. It can't be we're throwing him out there because we have faith in him. If he's not producing, he's not providing. All right, well, we lost Keith. I'm not sure. Can you guys still hear me? Let's see. You guys can see my whole background now. Let's see. I would love it if someone in the chat could say that they hear me or not, because then I know it's not my fault. Let's see. They can hear me. Okay. Boy, I don't know where Keith went. Let's see if we can get him back in here. I hate it when he drops out because he makes me vamp and he makes me stand over to one side. But yeah, no, this time you guys can use it to hit us up with some questions. give us some things that we want to talk about at the end of the podcast. Am I going to the game? I will not be going to the game. Keith will be at the game. He will probably be in there with the brigade, with the block. I will be holding it down on the Twitter, on the Instagram. But man, you got to be loud. I don't know how many of you guys have the ability to go to the game. I don't. I'm too far away right now. But if you have the chance to go to the game, you have to go, right? Every single time the Nets have played the Bucks this season, the home team has won the game. And that's not a mistake. And Keith is finally back, so I can finish vamping.
Bro, I was about to bug out.
Gotta pull up. You got to be there. You got to be able to go because that's going to make a difference. It really is. So be there, be loud, and just make an impact, man, because it matters. It matters to these players. It matters to the game. It certainly matters to the refs, keeping the refs accountable. We just got to be there, and we got to be able to do it. But now I'll throw it back to Keith because he is back here.
Yeah, I know we were talking about Joe, and then I guess we got into some talk about attending Game 7, and we'll talk about that more at the end. Let's move along here with the narratives around this series, the news and narratives. There's literally, all right, the stream could drop out again. I have Verizon Fios. There's a Verizon Fios truck outside. I think my neighbors are installing Verizon Fios today, so hopefully this doesn't drop out. We will try and get this podcast done in the next 30 minutes or less. So the last narrative in our news and narratives section to open up the pod is surrounding Giannis, right? And everything surrounding Giannis. Going into this game, this dude said he was going to guard KD. And then he ducked smoke again. Instead, he guarded James Harden, who has one hamstring. I cannot watch his game anymore, bro. Like it's so trash. Like I cannot watch him play anymore. It's so trash how he plays and the calls that he gets. They literally let him get away with everything, and he is the NBA's like international golden child. And we talked about this on the last episode, right? They wanted this series to go 7 because they need 7 games with Giannis for the overseas crowd, for the world game, the international fans. But this free throw line situation is beyond me. Harden is over it. Everybody is over it. The Brooklyn Brigade was in the Pfizer Forum, flew out to Wisconsin for Game 6 to try and keep this guy honest. They're counting. Doris Burke was cracking up. She's like, this takes so long. She's like, that's hilarious. The Nets fans are counting? Yeah, we're counting. We've been counting since the beginning of the series when we had a 10-second clock on the Jumbotron in the Barclays Center, and the NBA made us take it down. Why do we have to take it down? To protect your golden child. And I'm like, I'm just so over it because it is ridiculous. This guy gets to practice free throws, gets to take his time, gets to slow the game up. He also gets to like grab rebounds, elbow people in the face, just run as hard and fast as he can to the rim and get all the calls. Just like call the game how the game is supposed to be called, man. Like the NBA rule book says you have 10 seconds to shoot a free throw. Why does he consistently get more than 10 seconds? I'm like, I just don't have any answers for it. Besides, the NBA is keeping their 2-time MVP in it. They also, like Hudson said on last episode, will not call that violation on him in the first quarter, second quarter. They might not call it at all, but they're not going to call it early because then he'll foul out of the game. He fouled out of Game 5. If you call that on him early in the game, he's going to get like his foul total is going to get up. He's going to get himself fouled out of the game. What are you thinking about this, bro? I feel like it should be a bigger story. I feel like Nets Twitter and Nets fans are the only ones like, yo, what the fuck? Why does this guy get 13 seconds to shoot one free throw and clank it off the back of the iron?
I think it's ridiculous. I think StatMuse was the account that timed his whole free throw routine at the end of that first game. The whole free throw routine took him 3 minutes and 6 seconds. That is a fourth of an entire NBA quarter. It's just, first off, it's just not good TV, right? Like everyone talks about, the NFL has too many commercials. Pace of play is not good, right? This is a pace of play issue.
Baseball.
We're standing there, sitting and watching this guy take his practice free throws, dribble the ball for 10 minutes. It's all of this nonsense, and it's just ridiculous. There's no accountability. There's no nothing. And it just frustrates me to no end because when last night on Twitter, I said, Giannis has to be embarrassed, right? All the preferential treatment he gets from these refs. It's ridiculous. He's not playing the same game that everybody else is playing. And then people decide to come in our mentions and be like, oh, but you have Harden, but Harden's on your team. It's not like that. It really isn't.
Not
Harden gets foul calls. Sure, you can talk about how Harden draws fouls driving to the lane all you want. Right now, we're talking about a rule. This is the same as a shot clock violation. What if you got 3 seconds on every shot clock as your team? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We have the technology. We have the shot clock above the backboard. There should be a Giannis Antetokounmpo rule that says now we have to have the shot clock on free throws. Just like you need a pitch clock in the MLB coming soon, we're going to have a shot clock coming soon for free throws in the NBA, and we need it because it's ridiculous. It's just it's something that can't happen. And we've got our guy Doug Barak in the chat talking about how Nash should have gotten thrown out. Absolutely. I do have to put some of this blame on Nash because you have to be in Zach Zarba's ear, Brooklyn native. Milwaukee fans were already saying when the series ends, this is going to be Zach Zarba's fault because he's from Brooklyn. It wasn't last night. Nash has to be in his ear. He has to be talking to him. He has to be saying, this is a foul. You're going to call it twice in the series, but not any of the rest of the times when he commits that foul. Like, what is the line, right? If you're going to call it once, you got to keep calling it. There's got to be some type of consistency. And Nash is just there clapping and smiling. And whenever something happens like that, whenever there's a bad call or anything, I think it's just in his nature. He just laughs it off. And he's like, man, he's like frustrated, but it's like a laugh off. It's not the Kenny Atkinson getting thrown out of the game. It's not the Sean Marks going into the ref's locker room after a playoff game. We need that energy, right? We need to hold them accountable. And that's why home court is going to be so important because we heard it from Keith last game. It was important that the Nets fans were holding the refs accountable. They were in their ear. They were telling them, like, you can't give the preferential treatment the way you're giving it. And that's why this Game 7 is going to matter so much that it's at home. It's a good thing we have this 2 seed because in Milwaukee, we're not getting those calls. We're not getting a fair shake from the refs. And it's just disappointing that we have to keep talking about this. I wish we didn't. I wish we could go out here and talk about X's and O's and vibes and all these good things like that are actual basketball things, but the refs have inserted themselves into the flow of the game and they've ruined it because it's not fun to have to talk about this. It's not fun to have to watch it from the ref's perspective. But here we are because you have Giannis and he's such a big moneymaker that the NBA has to give him this preferential treatment, and it's just frustrating.
He is the only one that does this. Ben Simmons can't hit free throws either, but he doesn't take 13 seconds to brick one. Why does one guy get to literally break an NBA rule over and over and over again? And like you said, bro, I watch what goes on at the Fiserv Forum. Giannis is at the line with confidence. Like, this is my arena. I'm the MVP here. I can take all the time I want because I did that all season. And they're standing there and they're with it. They're co-signing it. Like, yeah, bro, take your time. It's trash. And now let's talk about Nash. Last part of the news and narratives, because the narrative going around about Nash, we're playing the Bucks fear the deer. At times, it's like Nash is a deer in headlights. At times, it's starting to show that this is his first year as a coach, and now we're in the second round, and now we're in heated competition in game 6s, and now a game 7. And it's like, Nash, you got to be lighting these refs up. You got to be in their ear. You got to be talking to them. The shit is wrong. It's criminal, actually. And then also when the Bucks are going on runs, you got to stop these runs. You can affect the game. Call timeout. Call timeout. If you're seeing Middleton hitting back-to-back threes, I think they went on something like a 16-0 run yesterday.
They went on a 14-0 run. Bro. And Nash let them, like, why not call the timeout at 8-0, right? Why not call it at 6-0? Why not stop that momentum? Don't let it get to a 14-0 run. That's your job as a coach. It's just frustrating, man.
Don't let it get there. And I think he'll be better. And I think they're going to talk about it and they're going to watch film. I could tell the Bucks watch film. I feel like, Harden got going, but, they gave Harden a couple different looks. I felt like Drew Holiday at some points was just like on Harden and kind of forcing him to go one way. Like, they watched film and they watched how he was favoring his leg and what he was doing and what he wasn't doing. Like, he was not able to drive the way that he used to. His shot was better. I put out a tweet yesterday. I'm like, Harden's hamstring is fine. No, I didn't mean that it was fine like 100%. Some people were like, he's not fine. Of course he's not fine. But after playing in game 5, I'm saying his hamstring is fine. His hamstring could have went backwards. He could have went the other way where he's slower. No, I think playing in game 5 helped Harden, and he's going to have to go again in game 7. No, there will not be any Kyrie. It's going to be on KD. It's going to be on Harden. It's going to be on the rest of these guys. Blake, Uncle Jeff. Uncle Jeff gave us a hell of a performance next to KD in game 5. He was Robin to KD's Batman, but Uncle Jeff is 34. You couldn't expect back-to-back games where he's putting up over 25 points. I wasn't. Someone else had to do it. I had hoped that it'd be Joe, and it wasn't, but that's okay. Let's move on to Around the Association quickly. Obviously, you guys know now this series is tied. The series is tied 3-3. The new series that we talked about, the 3-game series where we got 2 games at home, it's tied 1-1. We go to a game 7. Now, the Hawks beat the Sixers in Philly 2 nights ago. They came back. That was crazy. Atlanta now leads that series 3-2. They'll play game 6 tonight. The Jazz lost to the Clippers without Kawhi. Kawhi has an ACL injury, but playoff P. Good to see Paul George put up 37 and 16. He leads LA to victory. They're up 3-2. They play game 6 tonight. So you got the 7:30 game with the Sixers and the Hawks. Then you got the 10:30 game with the Jazz and the Clippers. And then obviously, the Suns swept the Nuggets. They are feet up, kicking back, chilling. But not chilling too much because some things went down. So this tweet came out yesterday from Complex Sports, and they said, what is going on in the NBA? Like, I just kept seeing that on Twitter. What is going on in the NBA? In the past 48 hours in the NBA, we had the KD game, which we'll talk about next. CP3 reportedly tests positive for COVID. Even though he's vaccinated, he's entered in the COVID protocols. Kawhi has an ACL injury reported. Stan Van Gundy is fired, out of there with Zion and the Pels. Scott Brooks parts ways with the Wizards. Donnie Nelson and Rick Carlisle are both out in Dallas. Their era ends. The Sixers blew that 26-point lead, which I love because they chanted, "We want Brooklyn." And it's like, well, maybe you should be worried about who's in front of you again. We get a playoff P performance. Paul George finally gets to tell his haters, I am who I am. And Zion's family wants out of New Orleans, we're hearing. That's interesting. He's only been there for a couple years. And then you can go ahead and add game 6 to that, what we saw last night in Milwaukee. The Bucks forcing a game 7, getting a top performance out of Middleton, top performance out of Giannis, and a top performance out of the refs again. So let's get into these games. Back to game 5, Tuesday night in Brooklyn. The Nets beat the Bucks 114-108. I was blessed enough to be in the building. Saw people like Spen from Fireside Nets. I got to meet Matt Brooks in person. I even got to run into like some of our fans. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to my dude who was wearing the Nets World hoodie that we designed. I love to see Talking Nets merch in the building. Like, that's what we made it for. Like, rep the Nets in a cool way. And it turned into a historic night after it was really slow. I even met Evan Roberts, and I met Evan Roberts after the first half. And he's coming down. He's about to sit next to Chris Carino, and he looks dejected. He looks so down and out. I think he thought the season was over that night. And I'm like, it's the first half, bro. How many first halves have you seen the Nets start slow? Like, this is actually what we do. We come out in the first. We can't hit shots. We fill it around, or we fill things out. We take a look around, and then we play a little bit better in the second to come back. But we were down 16 at half, and there was weird energy in the building. I think Nets fans so badly wanted something to yell about, scream about, erupt over, and we just weren't getting it in the first half. What were you thinking on Twitter watching the Nets just like, damn, it's game 5. We're back in Brooklyn. Harden gave us that jolt, right? I made sure I was at the stadium early, the arena early, to see Harden warm up. He warmed up, and everybody in the building that was in there was watching, and we all got the like, yeah, Harden is back. He gave us that jolt, Willis Reed energy. And then the Nets come out, and they're just flat, and the Bucks look like they're just the way better team in the first half. What were you thinking on the tweets, Hudson?
I was sad too. I was in my Evan Roberts mode, right? Like, it was not fun to watch. It was just not good basketball. It was disappointing to just see the way the game was going. I didn't think they were going to lose because I have that eternal optimism with this Nets team, because you really have to have that eternal optimism if you have number 7 on your team. And we saw that this game, obviously. But it was disappointing. It felt like we addressed all these problems. We had the day off to talk about what went wrong in Milwaukee. And boy, feeling like you were going to let Milwaukee win 3 games in a row was too much. That was a lot to handle. But I tried to keep that positive energy, and I'm glad I did. I really am glad that I did, because, like I said, when you have number 7, Kevin Durant, on your team, it's different. So you always have to have that faith. And in this game, it paid off, and maybe it paid off more than it ever has for a team that Kevin Durant has been on in his entire career, because that was masterful. I'll let you talk about that, seeing maybe Kevin Durant's greatest performance of all time in person.
Yeah, I saw he had 10 and 7. And when he had 10 and 7 quick, I was like, oh, he's getting a triple-double tonight, or definitely a double-double. But at first, it was just him and Jeff. Like, the first 22 points we scored was just him and Jeff. I think Jeff might have had 10 and he had 12. And I'm watching the second half and I'm blacking out, because all I'm waiting for in the second half is the lead. I'm not even realizing that, like, KD is having his way. And the first time I started realizing, like, KD was doing something special was when most people started standing. Like, it's one thing when you're sitting in your seat. Every time KD got the ball, you just saw heads raising up. You just saw people getting out of their seats. And my boy B came to the game with me. We had hoodies on because they always blast the air conditioning in Barclays Center. But then second half, we just took the hoodies off. And I was just rocking the jersey. And people were standing. And every time Kevin Durant got the ball, it was like, oh, and the crowd erupts. We got the lead. And the shots that he made down the stretch, the one that he made over Middleton, that, like, pretty much was the dagger, which it wasn't even like his regular shot motion. It was kind of like a flick of the wrist. It was awesome, man. Turned the stadium up. Obviously, Travis Scott was in there. Travis Scott is a full-blown Brooklyn Nets fan now. Some other people in the building. I think Jason Sudeikis had a great moment on the big screen, getting the fans into it. And, after that, the Nets closed it out and did what they had to do. And you love to see guys like Harden gut it out. And Harden definitely hates Giannis. He gets ISO'd on Giannis. He basically waves off Shamet like, I don't need any help. Giannis just spins and fades away and clanks one off the side of the rim. It's like easy money. And then later you see Harden just foul Giannis, because it's like, yeah, put him on the line. Put him on the line. Whammy magic. He misses the first one. Harden's kind of like hyping up the crowd. If you look at the video that I put on our Instagram, and I put, like, some of the videos in a thread on Twitter, you see Harden turn to the crowd. He, like, doesn't even want to watch Giannis shoot. It was a great feeling. Nets fans walking out of the stadium, walking out of the arena. I always say stadium because I'm a Yankee Stadium person. I know it's the Barclays Center. It's an arena. But walking out of the arena together, yelling, Brooklyn. And you just see all these different kind of Nets jerseys and different kind of people and the diversity in Brooklyn. And it was a great night, man. It was a historic night. We've never seen that in the NBA. 49, 17, and 10. I mean, that's Kevin Durant. You know who he is, right? That's Kevin Durant.
It's unstoppable. There's nothing like it. First time in NBA history, and with so much on the line too. This wasn't, for a Nets sweep. This wasn't for a gentleman's sweep. This wasn't even a first game in the series when the series is still close. This was a game with a lot on the line. This is a game where he did not have the help, and he went into that game with everyone in his ear saying, this is a legacy game. This is for you, KD. Now KD gets to see what it's like for the rest of the league, which is a nonsense narrative, but we've already talked about that. And he went out there and he just shut everybody up. And he was just Kevin Durant. And it's just so different when he's hitting like that. I can't think of anyone in the NBA that I've ever watched, and I've seen a lot of good players watching the NBA for 20 years now, that scores like him. There's just no one that can do it. There's no one that can take control of a game, that can hit these insane type shots with such a regularity as Kevin Durant. And that's just what he went out and did. And it was just beautiful to see. It really was just beautiful. It was art. It was poetry. It was amazing. And I loved it. But I do have to give credit to James Harden, because even though he did not have his great scoring game, even though he was playing on one leg, He went out there and gutted it out. And it was more than just him going out there and giving the team that boost. It was that you have to respect James Harden no matter what, right? You have to give him that credit. You can't always have to shade out to him because he's James Harden. And so he gave KD just that little bit of space that he would not have had if he was running out there with Mike James as his point guard. And James Harden, got that win out there just as much as KD did, maybe a little less, but just as much in terms of an effort standpoint. He did everything he could to get the Nets that win, and that was something huge that I don't think people are talking about nearly enough.
Yeah, I love this, just the energy we got. Like, it was literally like a movie. I said, watching Harden give us that jolt after I think Daily News comes out and puts Kevin Durant on as Mr. Brooklyn by himself, the big three down to one. Nah, congratulations, you played yourself. Harden's going to play. We got two of the big three. And then Jeff Green stepped up for point production and said, I'll play the role of a Kyrie Irving. I'll come off the bench with a franchise record 27 points. Jeff Green set a record coming off the bench, most points scored by a net off the bench in playoff history, 27. Solid. It's what we needed, man. And we got it done. Joe couldn't do it. Landry stepped up. He made some shots, and we got it done. We got the win to go up in the series. And then we end up going back to Milwaukee, and obviously we knew it wasn't going to be an easy route. We knew Harden was going to be playing on his hamstring again. We knew we would need KD to put up another 40, which is tough. We knew we couldn't get Jeff Green to do it again. I mean, it was a lot to ask. So let's talk about Game 6. Nets beat the Bucks 114-108 Tuesday night in Brooklyn. Or no, that was Game 5, sorry. Game 6, Bucks beat the Nets 104-89 Thursday night in Milwaukee. That was last night. Giannis said he was going to guard KD. That didn't happen. They had their home court, and this is the NBA, and I think that's the last game at the Pfizer Forum. They had to get that money. I just was over there. I ate lunch at the Mecca, and I saw their whole complex and the restaurants over there, and you guys saw the thousands of fans out there. That's their last night in Wisconsin. That's it. That's all you guys get. And it's a money thing, right? It's a business. Let's get that last Game 6 there. They'll go back to Brooklyn. We'll get our money there. And what can I say about the game last night? Once again, the Nets start off slow. Once again, the Nets are getting bullied. Once again, the Nets aren't having their way with the calls. And, right away, it's like, man, this isn't great. But you know what? We weren't getting smoked, right? The game was close at some points. Harden had more point production last night. We weren't getting smoked where it was just like, okay, are we going to be competitive and try and challenge for this game? Or are we just going to lay down and not get it done? And then as, the game went on, it just turned into a situation where you knew it was out of reach and it got ugly at the end. And I don't care to talk too much about last night's game. It really doesn't matter. Because like I said, in my head, this series was always going 7. In my head, this series was, the NBA's series because I don't think, I think the Nets are advanced, and I don't think whoever comes out of this series is going to lose to the Sixers or the Hawks. So, like I said, it's like a manufactured thing, in my opinion. Like, the Nets are the better team. You guys saw how we came out on fire the first 2 games, even without Harden in the first 2 games, with a healthy Kyrie, and people were talking about a sweep. But I knew I gave them respect, and the league helped manufacture a 7-game series, which is what they wanted. Hudson, your thoughts about Game 6?
It was really, I think, the most frustrating game of the series for me because it was such a winnable game the whole time, right? The whole time, the Nets were within striking distance, and every time they'd go on a little 7-0 run to make it a 6 or a 7-point game, the Bucks would respond. And I think really the one stretch that epitomized that was at the end of the third quarter when we had a chance. We had an offensive rebound when it was a 5-point game or a defensive rebound we could have gotten when it was a 5-point game to go down. If we would have hit a 3, it would have been a 2-point game. We could have made it a 2-point game, but Chris Middleton gets the offensive rebound and he goes out and he hits a 3, and then that just collapsed. The end of the third quarter was just heartbreaking. Chris Middleton keeps pouring in points, and then we have him get the buzzer beater tip in, and it It was just dejecting. We couldn't get any of that momentum going into the fourth quarter. And it was just sad. It was just unfortunate. But it got us to game 7. And here we are. We're at game 7. We can't be too mad, right? We have a chance on home court with 2 of our 3 big 3 to go out there and win the game, right? So all I'm thinking now is, what are we going to do? What changes are we going to have to make to get out there to win that game 7? Because it's do or die. It's really, we can't lose this game. It's going to be a long summer. It's going to be a long wait until the season starts if the Nets lose this game. So the only thing I was thinking that game was, we got to figure it out. We have to figure it out. It can't all be on KD. We got to have bench players, but we got to have spacing. We got to have this. We got to have that. Because like I said, man, it's going to be a long time waiting to get back into these playoffs if we can't win this game 7.
And it's going to be a long time listening to every hater talk about the Nets failing, or the Nets not even getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, or, oh, the Nets had it. Oh, not so easy, huh? Oh, super team couldn't get it done. Oh, they ruined the NBA. Kevin can't win without a super team. Harden, like, you already know. And they know that too. And if I had to bet, and I'm not a gambling man, I'll take KD, James Harden, Jeff Green, Blake Griffin, even Joe Harris, Landry Shamet. I'll take our guys in a game 7 over the Bucks at home on our home floor. PJ Tucker came out there and said, I'm willing to die on the floor, like I'm living my dream or something like that. And it's like, PJ, bro, like, like I hear you, I get you, but like what you're doing isn't that kind of energy. What you're doing is fouling and like fucking the game up consistently. Now, for the Nets, I think they should have that mentality. Every Brooklyn Net should be willing to die on that court before taking an L. And it starts early. Landry Shamet came out before the game. He said it's about how we start. They know there's no secret. You can't be playing from behind the whole game. You can't be trying to like come back the whole game. It's got to be competitive from the start. And I'm hoping we bring that kind of energy tomorrow night in Brooklyn, Saturday night. Tickets are selling out. I'm on my phone talking to people. I'm like, man, I should have jumped on tickets for the block. Like, everybody in the world is trying to go to this game. Rich Kleiman said people are hitting him up that he hasn't spoke to since before COVID, trying to get tickets to this game. Everybody's trying to be there. I'll definitely be at the Yankee game tomorrow, but I'm going to work on trying to be in the building for game 7. And that's it. That's what we're focused on. Time for game 7. It's a do or die situation. Anything can happen, but we have better players than them. We're at home in our arena where we should be playing more comfortable. If Giannis can't go off for 30 and Middleton can't go off for 30 again, it's our game to lose. We just got to start fast, right? We just got to start with a sense of urgency out of the gate. And I think we will. So get pumped up, get excited. Your team, the Brooklyn Nets, is in the second round in a game 7 with the chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. All they have to do is win one more game on their floor. We haven't lost a game in Brooklyn. Why would we start losing games now? We always win on Saturdays. I think Doug Barrett put out a stat. We've lost 3 games on Saturdays. The Nets are gonna get it done. The NBA needed this series to go 7. The Bucks are a good team, but they're not better than us. And I would bet on Kevin Durant, James Harden, and our supporting cast over Giannis, Middleton, Drew Holiday, and their supporting cast. I don't think they get it done. I think we get it done. So let's play some voicemails. Let's read some reviews, and then we'll get out and we'll wrap this thing up. And you guys will go enjoy your Friday, and we'll get ready for this game 7 tomorrow.
Hello guys, it's Jeffrey, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on games 5 and 6. It's almost as if we're running a 6-man rotation out there. If Joe Harris isn't hitting threes, then what is he doing on the court? Bruce Brown went from a detrimental piece in game 3 to having 5 minutes in game 6. We have to be more aggressive on the glass. We can't just let Chris Middleton go by us with 3 people in the paint and get the rebound. And the refs. I'm not the type of guy to blame the refs, but these past few games, the refs have been absolutely horrible. I literally have clips of Giannis bulldozing the Nets, and somehow he doesn't get called for the foul. If Joe Harris isn't hitting his shots, then consider putting Bruce in, because we saw what Chris Middleton did in game 6, and we can't have that happen in game 7. I wouldn't be surprised if Clax gets put in for more minutes for size. KD in game 5 was absolutely unstoppable. We need that type of performance in game 7, and that's fantastic as loud as they could.
Yeah, man. I'm with you, bro. You know, if Joe Harris can't get it done, let Shamit rock. And I honestly think Joe should come off the bench. That's the change in game 7. Some people are probably going to say, no, don't change anything now. But I see some goofies talking about DeAndre Jordan, right? Let's have the DeAndre Jordan conversation. DeAndre Jordan has not played in any of these games. Last night, you saw the Stay Ready crew get on the floor. You saw Reggie Perry, Chris Chioza, Tyler Johnson, Alize Johnson. Like, if those guys are playing and DeAndre Jordan isn't even getting minutes then, why would they decide to put DeAndre Jordan in now in a game 7 when he's a liability? Your season's on the line. Now's the time to put DeAndre Jordan in there to stop Giannis? No, like Jeffrey said, Giannis just comes through the lane and bulldozes everyone and doesn't get anything called on him. The answer is not DeAndre Jordan. Hudson, do you think we need to just automatically like change everything because the fans want to see DJ play? Like, it's nonsensical to me.
People, these Nets fans, I'll tell you, they have a short memory when it comes to DeAndre Jordan. I feel like we have this conversation once every 2 podcasts. DeAndre Jordan he's not it, man. Like, he's just not. He's old. He is a great locker room guy, right? That's awesome. We love the support. Everybody has nothing but great things to say about him. But he's just not. He's not here. This isn't the time. This is not the time for DeAndre Jordan. This guy says DJ is so good after he gets 4 days of rest. That is incorrect. That is factually incorrect. I swear these people do not. I mean, like, do you guys remember what DeAndre Jordan was doing in the regular season? He was horrendous. And I love the role that he has on this team now because he's being that good teammate and he's there for high fives. He keeps them crisp. But he's not going to be able to come out in a game 7.
He hasn't played
Giannis.
Any playoff games. They're not going to throw him into a game 7. He's
imagine
already
that we can't let it ride,
Pistons, bro.
We can't let it ride on DJ right after not playing him.
No,
I'll tell you, we have this guy that is spamming Alize Johnson in the chat. I love Alize Johnson. Do not ever accuse us of not liking Alize Johnson. We love him. He's been our guy. But if he's not getting important minutes in any other game, again, we're not going to let a guy who hasn't had a role just let it ride for a game 7. That's just not how it works. That's just not how it works in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to be him. It's not going to be DJ. I wish Alize had a bigger role, but like, it's just not going to happen. Why do we have to keep having this conversation?
I guess you guys play 2K. I don't play video games. I don't know where this stuff comes from. Someone in our spaces yesterday was like, give Tyler Johnson the start. He can get hot. He can shoot. I'm like, what? Like, this is the playoffs, the second round of the playoffs. The best players are playing right now. These guys that are like average NBA players aren't going to just rise to the occasion. Look at Joe Harris. Joe Harris has reverted to his Cleveland self. It is tough. DeAndre Jordan is not the answer. Tyler Johnson definitely ain't the answer. Let's play another voicemail. It's morning still, so let's get this one in.
Good morning, Brooklyn! Fresh off of a GOAT performance from Kevin Durant. We knew this is the kind of performance we needed from him. We got it. Mad props to Harden for toughing it out and coming back in. It was obvious he wasn't 100%. Came in as for facilitating the ball, not to score it. Wow. Man, I almost went to sleep. I'm on 2 hours of sleep. I didn't go to sleep, and I'm happy I didn't go to sleep. Not tired at all. Actually very excited. Got my KD shirt on. Guys, we got to take it in Milwaukee. It's not a must-win, but hopefully we could take it in Milwaukee. And last thing, big baby Glenn Davis, you're a freaking clown. You lucky I ain't swear. Brooklyn!
Energy. I like that positive energy. I like that positive vibe. Let's play another positive energy so we can keep it rolling out here. You know it. Bro, I hate this. Like,
holy shit. KD is everything.
Run it back.
Let's fucking go, baby. I can't believe I pulled it off. Holy shit. KD is everything. Fuck the haters. Let's go next.
Fuck the haters, especially the haters in our own fan base that were saying the season was over first half of game 6, that were saying the season was over last night. Oh, we can't beat these guys. They've outplayed us. There's no way we win a game 7. Like, nah, I'm not.
We've got
on that
people in
time.
our own chat saying, sadly, Bucks in 7.
No
Where's the
way.
positivity?
Y'all
What
aren't
kind of Nets
allowed
fan is
around here.
that?
Y'all aren't allowed to kick it around here. Let's get another one in. This guy, this is our Good Morning Brooklyn guy. He leaves a message every day. Not gonna play the whole thing. It's over a minute. Let's see here. My Bluetooth sucks. I'm sorry. I apologize. Go. Nope.
Calling after this game 6 loss. It was a terrible, terrible game all around. Something that we kind of expect now when we go to Milwaukee for some reason. But the real reason why I'm calling is, guys, I am so disgusted with the Joe Harris slander that I've been hearing and seeing. What's going on? That is our guy. Like, he was on fire all year. He has a cold streak. He's going on a cold streak on a very, very, very unfortunate time. But come on, guys. Let's stop the Joe Harris slander. And I'm not talking about my Talking Nets co-host over here. I'm talking about, the people on the street, the Nets Twitter. Leave Joey Buckets alone. Hopefully he'll snap out of it this next game, man. Brooklyn.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance that Joe snaps out of it, but I'm seeing in the chat someone saying Blake should shoot more threes. And we got a DM last night where I laughed. I want to actually give this person credit because I was on our Instagram, just like I was like basically like over it. Shout out to Sophia. Sophia says, it's bad when it feels like Blake Griffin's 3-point attempts are more reliable than Joe's. I said, yeah, I'd much rather see Blake shoot it than Joe right now. And that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. It is a legacy game. I saw someone say it's a legacy game for Harden. It's a legacy game for every player on the Brooklyn Nets. You were on this super team. You were on this big 3, right? And if this big 3 without Kyrie doesn't get it done and the season ends tomorrow, you're all going to have to wear it. You're all going to have to hear it. We're going to have to wear it. We're going to have to hear it. I'm prepared for that, but I don't feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like when you have a Kevin Durant, when you have a James Harden, when you have the rest of these guys, they're going to will us to victory. They're going to do what they got to do out here. Let's play one more voicemail from our guy, JJ, who also calls every time. JJ, this voicemail is a minute and a half, bro. We said keep it to a minute. You know this.
Hey, Keith. Hey, Hudson. It's JJ. Just coming off of this tough loss, I'm recording it with around 5 seconds to go in the game. And game's over. All right. Well, this is a tough loss. Totally winnable game. KD only scorer. It sucks that Harden can't drive to the basket. That's what's killing us. What would happen would be Harden would drive to the basket and dish it out to have people wide open on the threes. I think what's happening is Joe Harris is shoving a little bit more space, and he has the worst type of gift. It's super mental, and he's overcompensating. I don't know why he hasn't been able to fix it. Like, normally he'll have like 1 or 2 bad games, but he's just overcompensating. Every single shot is off in other ways every single time he shoots. One more thing, I mean, it's such a winnable game, and we just lost it. Like, we lost a winnable game.
Okay, that's enough. I'm over last night already. We lost a winnable game, yes, but it's a closeout game. The hardest games to win are closing an NBA team out full of professional NBA players like the Bucks, who are huge. These guys are all over like 6'5". Like they're playing tough on their home floor. They're not going to get closed out that easily on their home floor by Harden with one leg, whatever. But they can come to Brooklyn and get closed out. They haven't won a game in Brooklyn. And I think all of our guys are going to do what they got to do to win this game for Kyrie, win this game for Brooklyn, win this game for all the haters, and advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Hudson, any thoughts before I read the reviews and we get out of here?
I'm just going to tell Nets fans to calm down, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, this is stressful. I know I'm stressed. I'm worried about what's going to happen too. But just reading the chat on the YouTube live that we're doing, we've got people talking about Sadiq Bey. First off, the Landry Shamet trade was a good trade. I don't know if you've watched Landry Shamet play, but he's a good player, and we have him for more years now. He's good. I know Sadiq Bey is good, but Landry Shamet is a proven NBA player. Fine.
Veteran. Young
we're
veteran.
talking about JJ Redick. Like this is the same. Like this. Like talking about DJ. It's just what are we talking about like this for, guys? We have James Harden and Kevin Durant. Game 7s are for the stars.
Yep.
They're not for Sadiq Bey. They're not for JJ Redick. They're not for DJ. They're not for Alize Johnson. They are for the stars. This is going to be a game between Chris Middleton and Giannis and James Harden and Kevin Durant. And when the stars come to play, the bigger stars shine brightest. And we have those. So get hype. Get feeling good. Don't bring any of that negative nonsense, goofy energy talking about Sadiq Bey over Landry Shamet with his 3-and-D potential.
Yeah, like, what are we focused on right now? What are
We're
we talking
focused on
about?
winning a Game 7. Keep
Thank
your
you.
mentality locked in on this Game 7. Don't think about the past. Don't think about the future. Think about what we need to do to get this win and go to the game, fellas. If you can go to the game, get there, because we need it to be loud. We need to have that energy. We need to have that positive vibe. So that's the last thing I'll say. If you can go, and I keep saying it, it makes a difference. Be there.
Yeah. Lock in. Everybody lock in right now. Mentally. What did I say before we even came into this series? It starts in your mind, right? Your thoughts become things. Nets in 7. We didn't come this far for this to be it. This was never the goal. The goal wasn't to get to Game 7 and be done. Like, we're going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then we're going to the finals. Kyrie is coming back. We're not going out like this. So lock in, believe. Nets in 7. However we got to get it done, we will get it done, because that's just what type of time we're on. Let's read these reviews. Appreciate y'all, man. The road to 100 reviews. We're over 100 reviews now. We've got 4 new reviews to read for you quickly. Monday, LaBenjello, L. Benjello writes, new listener, had to come through for the 100 reviews. Brooklyn Nets fandom has never been easy. We used to it. Let's go. I love that, because I have to remind some of you new Nets fans, right? We did a Spaces yesterday where someone asked, like, when was the last time we made it to the second round? And I realized, I'm like, oh, damn, like, we have a lot of fans that like don't even know our recent history. And that's okay. Being a Nets fan has never been easy, but this is the best time to be a Nets fan. Wear your Nets jersey today and tomorrow. Put your chest out and say, listen, we've got Game 7 at home on our home floor with a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're going. The Nets are going back to the Eastern Conference Finals, baby. Say that. Next review from our guy, JJ. Big time supporter. Appreciate you, JJ. JJ says, best fanalist pod. We're fanalists, not analysts, aka we're just fans of this. JJ writes 5 stars. I don't know how I haven't reviewed yet, but Keith and Hudson are the best fanalists that can be. Been here since episode 1 and has been great to see the growth from the account. We put in the work. Hudson and I work on this all day, every day, bro. It's all a product of what we do out here. Next review from Juzam01 on Tuesday writes, best pod out there. My favorite reviews are when you guys start the review and the title is just Best Nets Pod, because that's what I set out to do from the jump. If you go all the way back to the reviews, look for the review from K McPherson 4 and look what I wrote back in 2019. So this review says, Keith and Hudson always bring the energy and they always stay informed with what's happening in Nets world. This is a pro Nets pod, pro player pod, and a positive vibe pod. Tell a friend to tell a friend, because this pod is fire. Appreciate you. Sound like you get it. And it warms my heart to hear that. Thank you. Thank you very much. One more. Nikki D123, baby, on Wednesday writes, best Nets podcast, baby, ! 5 stars. Let's go Nets. Slim Reaper came to play and Scary Hours is back, baby. This is the best Nets podcast around and only getting better. Real Nets fans, great fanalists, great times. They keep it real. Can't wait to listen through the finals, baby. Brooklyn. Say that. Now, make sure you leave us a review, subscribe to the pod, rate us 5 stars. If you want to be heard on the pod, call the voicemail at 201-870-0461. Make sure you follow us across platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, @TalkinNets. Subscribe to the YouTube. And we're still running promo for the shirts. We support Kyrie. The nicknames list and scary hours are for playoffs. If you use promo code playoffs, it gets you 20% off. Shop.johnboymedia.com. Go to podcast merch. Look up Talking Nets. And that's all we've got. That's been an hour on live, and we'll keep the podcast right under an hour. Hudson Flynn, any final words or closing thoughts for the Nets world?
Bring positive vibes. Only positive vibes. Only good thoughts. Only good things. Keep your mentality positive. Stay locked in and just get it done. All right? Because we're part of this. The fan base, the organization, we're all part of this together. And you keeping that positive vibe, that positive mentality is important. So let's not go all doom and gloom if the Nets don't make the first shot of the game. Let's not go all doom and gloom if they don't have their best first quarter. Stay loud. Go to the Barclays Center. Make a difference because this is it. This is do or die. We're going to be coming to you after Game 7 with a podcast no matter what. Or it's either going to be right after Game 7 and we're going to be feeling great, or it's going to be the next day and we're going to be feeling depressed. So there's no other time, right? Now is the time to get out there and to be as good of a fan as you can be. So let's just go out there and get it done, boys. Nets in 7.
Why be one of those guys deleting tweets? Why be one of those guys apologizing on Instagram? Like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I doubted us. I'm sorry I didn't have faith. Why be one of those fans that quit on your team before the team actually quit? That's not what energy we put out. That's not what you're going to get from the Fanalist Pod Talking Nets. It's not how we feel. That's not how we act. And it ain't over till it's over. And the road to the finals is supposed to be bumpy. It's supposed to be rocky. When they make the championship DVD, what a hell of a chapter this Bucks series is going to be. Starts in your mind. You got to believe. Nets in 7. Nets in 7. I'll see y'all at Barclays tomorrow night. Let's go Nets. Be loud. Let's go Nets. Let's go Nets. Brooklyn. And that's the pod. All right, folks. I'm going to edit this podcast. It's going to be out there. Shout out to you for watching. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I don't see too many questions in the chat. I see Christian going off. Let's go. Exactly. Positive energy. Let's go. Get behind all of these guys on our team. They will win this game on their home floor. They're not going out. They're not going out there and losing to these Wisconsin. Nah, it's just not happening, bros. Believe. And anyone you talk to, tell them to believe. That's all we've got. Appreciate your support. We'll be back. We'll be back after Game 7. I'm going to the game. I just got confirmation that I'm in there. So I will we probably won't record Saturday night, but we'll definitely record Sunday. Maybe early Sunday morning. Or Sunday night. It don't matter. We'll give you a pod after we win Game 7 and advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. So glad we got this one in today. Hudson, you got anything else before I end the live or what?
Go to the game.
Yeah, go to the game.
Go to the game.
Spend
Go to the game.
your money.
Loud.
Call your connections. Get in there because, a lot of people opted out. Like, I missed Game 1 and 2 because I was out of town. There was no way in hell I was missing Game 5, and it was the best Nets playoff game I've been alive for. Now it's Game 7, and we could get a similar performance out of KD, Harden, and the rest of these guys, and it's going to be magical to see the Nets advance to the Eastern Conference Finals again. Once again, thanks for watching. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. Subscribe. If this is your first time watching, thank you. Talking Nets, Keith McPherson and Hudson Flynn, Nets in 7. You already know that.